Most players unlock artillery, fire it once, decide it's useless and never touch it again. Today I'm going to show you how to unlock artillery properly, how the system actually works, and how to use it as a real battlefield tool instead of a one-off gimmick. Welcome back to Gman Gaming and Reviews. On this channel we don't just show you what works in Fallout 4, we break down why it works, how the systems actually function under the hood, and how to use them cleanly without mods or exploits. In this video we're going to do exactly that with artillery. I'll show you how to unlock it, how it really functions, why most players think it's weak, and how to make it consistent and reliable. Section 1, how to unlock artillery. So let's start at the beginning. How do you actually unlock artillery? Well, artillery is tied to the Minutemen questline, right? So, Preston Garvey, who is here at Sanctuary somewhere, he will actually, very early on, after you recover him from Concord, he will actually give you quests to start taking back settlements for the Minutemen, right? So you'll have things like Abernathy Farm, Red Rocket Truck Stop, 10 Pines Bluff. And if you keep following that quest line, eventually you're going to get the mission to unlock the castle. Alright, so now we're going to travel to the castle so I can show you the goodness of the castle and unlocking it. Okay, so once you're at the castle, what's actually going to happen is when you go to retake the castle, this place is going to be infested with Mirelurks, right? And when you first come into the castle, so when you get the mission to take back the castle, be aware that you're gonna have to fight a considerable amount of Mirelurks, which early on, by the time you get the quest, you should be okay with it. But Mirelurks early on can be very difficult to deal with because of the fact that they are very heavily armored, apart from their head. But the other thing is that you're actually going to have to fight a Mirelurk queen, right? So irrespective of what happens of how you decide to approach the castle, what will actually happen is you'll meet at an area which I think is here. About how, I think it's the wrong spot, but you'll meet in an area where you get to decide how you're going to retake the castle. So you'll come in, you'll deal with the Mirelurks. Now, after you deal with the actual Mirelurks, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find the nests and destroy and clear out the Mirelurk eggs, right? And after you do this, what is going to happen is from here, coming out of the ocean, a Mirelurk queen is going to spawn. And she's going to come in right through here. So what you should do, right, is if you've got plenty of mines with you, which I've got them. What you should do is you should just drop a whole bunch of mines here. Like so. I would use more mines than that because it's a Mirelurk queen. These are bottle cap mines, so they do a lot of damage. But you're going to want to drop a lot of... because she's going to come through this area. And if you do that, especially if you're on survival, because it could be pretty difficult to survive against, this can be a good way of taking out the Mirelurk queen. Or doing significant damage to her before she even gets to you. So after you've retaken the castle, what's going to happen is you're going to have a few quests to do. One is actually going to require you to unlock the armory. So what you're going to have to do is, here, there's going to be concrete. There's going to be rubble. So if you go into your workshop, you'll actually be able to scrap the rubble to get actually inside, right? When you go inside, you're going to have to deal with a sentry bot. So it's just something to be aware of. And you're going to be in close quarters, so something to be aware of. Now, after you do that, would you do the quest for Ronnie? Sure. one of the other big benefits of doing the quest for Ronnie Shaw is she will allow you to buy a unique variant of the railgun. And because it's a unique variant, she always has one in stock. And this can be a really good find, especially if you're struggling with things like death claws, right? Like I was carrying that weapon around for ages, simply put because I would just have it in my inventory just to deal with anything big like death claws, behemoths, that sort of thing, right? But the other good thing is that she's a weapon seller as well, right? So after you do that quest for her, not only are you going to be able to access the armory, which is in here, and find a lot of good like mines and all this stuff. Like I've obviously already cleared it, but there's a lot of stuff in here that's good. But also, you get access to Ronnie Shaw. After you complete a quest, she's going to give you the artillery, the schematics for artillery, right? And that's pretty much how you unlock artillery, is you got to do the Ronnie Shaw quest. Now, I'm having trouble finding her, but she is always here unless you move her to another settlement, which I'm not sure if you can do that. And here she is. Now, the great thing about Ronnie Shaw, okay, the reason that she's trading is because it's after nighttime. So if we actually go to sleep, now if we come to her now, yeah, so now she'll actually allow us to barter. And so she's got so she's a really good weapons merchant, but that's one of the really good things about her. But this is a guaranteed place to get the last spinner, which is a bit of a sign up. So once she's given you the schematics, what you're actually going to do is if you go into so we're going to move on to, so just before we do that, so once you have the schematics, you'll find them in the special area. And so what you need to do is you need to place them. Now they actually generate a defense of 6, which is pretty good, right? Ooh, this artillery piece isn't manned, so we'll have to man it. So the artillery piece has to be constructed. As you can see here, you have to construct an artillery piece. And you have to assign a settler to it in order for it to work. And that's pretty much it. Great thing about this is it doesn't require any power at all. Now, if any one of those is missing, the artillery will not fire. So no settler means no shells. This is one of the biggest reasons people think artillery is broken, because I don't think they understand that you actually have to assign a settler to it. Welcome to section 2, which is how artillery actually works. So this is where most guides fail to explain the system properly. Artillery does not fire from the player, it fires from settlements. Right? Each settlement with artillery creates a coverage radius around it. When you throw an artillery smoke grenade, any settlement whose coverage overlaps the grenade will fire. So if multiple settlements overlap the target area, you'll get multiple bombardments. So artillery strength isn't about how many pieces you build in one place. It's about where those settlements are placed on the map. Artillery doesn't follow you. You bring the fight into its range. So what happens is once you attach an artillery piece, what will happen is you'll end up with these smoke grenades in your inventory, in your workshop, right? They'll just show up there automatically, passively, right? And then when you are ready to use them, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to demonstrate artillery and how they work and help defend Zemonja at the same time. Alright. So we've got our artillery grenade. And let's use it. Oof, that's way too close. Alright, so what you're going to see here is that the artillery is going to start coming down. And you can see that that's what's happening, right? So there's going to be more artillery barrages than that. I did it a little bit too close to my my settlement. I wanted to get further, but you'll see there it's going to get hit quite a range, right? Now, one thing to be aware of when you're using artillery is to be extremely careful about going into the where your artillery barrage is going to be, because I don't believe it's finished. I think there's going to be more. Alright, so we're going to move on to section 3 where we talk about artillery, smoke grenades, and targeting. So I already went through this a little bit, but I think a great place to go through this is actually in Kingsport Lighthouse. I think what happened in the last one is there wasn't that much artillery in the area. But what you're about to see here, there's a lot of artillery in the area. So you're going to see... So like I said, it's once it lands, there's a short delay before the shells start falling. So it's something you need to be aware of. So where we're actually going to test it out is in this place here. Alright, this time we're actually going to get a little bit close. I've got to check out to see if I can launch these with the grenade launcher that's in the game, but we shall see. All right. So I want to get close. That's the one disadvantage of the grenades, is you have to get quite close in order to use them. Unlike other games, you used to be able to increase... okay, here we go. Yep, we've got our artillery smoke grenades, and we're just going to pump it in there. And let's go back, and let's see what happens. Let's go to a high vantage point. There we go. Boom! So this delay really matters, especially on survival mode, but even not on survival mode. If you get hit by the artillery, even in power armor, you're gonna die. Like almost guaranteed. Like it's happened to me twice, right? Artillery works best against static enemy positions, raider camps, super mutant strongholds, and exterior gunner or brotherhood locations, right? So artillery really struggles with interiors, tight urban spacing. Oh, we got... Oh, you want to fight, huh? He survived! Oh, the artillery's still coming. See what I mean? See what I mean? It's still coming. Didn't kill all of them, but... Like I said, the artillery grade isn't a panic button, it's a planned engagement tool. So we're going to move on to section 4 and artillery placement strategy. So let's have a look. So I'll show you some examples of... Okay, so first thing we'll do is we'll show you where we place the artillery. In this particular place, I put the artillery here. Probably should have put it up there. Now let's talk strategy with the Section 4 artillery placement strategy. High ground matters. So artillery placed on elevated terrain performs more reliability and avoids line of sight issues. So what I should actually... It's very unlikely that the artillery is going to be used against anything in this direction. So I guess it's okay, but most of the time you would want to have it up high so that you don't have line of height issues. So the castle is an obvious artillery hub. As you will see here. So the castle is a great artillery hub, right? Especially because it's got all these corners that you can place artillery on. That being said, so the castle, like I said, it's an obvious artillery hub, but it's not the only one that matters. Surrounding settlements and expanding coverage, it lets you layer bombardments, right? So this is important. More artillery is not automatically better. Good coverage beats raw quantity. So this is the same mistake players make with generators, overbuilding instead of understanding the system. Now, I did add these additional artillery, but I did it because there's a quest that requires it. Not necessarily because it was best in terms of placement, right? So we're going to move on to section 5, where we're going to talk about when is artillery worth using. So let's be honest about where artillery shines. Artillery is excellent for clearing exterior defenses, softening up strongholds, Minuteman focused playthroughs, and survival mode pre-clears, right? That's where it's actually really useful. So where artillery is bad for random encounters, indoor combat, and reactionary gameplay. So if you use it deliberately, it's powerful. If you expect it to replace your weapons, you'll be disappointed. So artillery isn't weak, it's just poorly explained. Once you understand how settlement coverage works, how targeting functions, and when artillery is actually worth using, it becomes one of the strongest force multipliers in the game. If this video helped you understand the system properly, consider liking and subscribing. I've got more Fallout 4 guides breaking down the mechanics the game never explains. Thanks for watching. This is Gman Gaming Reviews, and I'll see you on the next one. Quick errata and clarifications before we wrap up, just to keep everything accurate. First, artillery does require power, but it does not need to be physically wired. It draws 1 unit of power from the settlement's overall power pool. If the settlement doesn't have spare power, the artillery simply won't fire. And the game doesn't give you a warning. That's one of the reasons why this system is so often misunderstood. Second is, when I mentioned Ronnie Shaw's unique weapon, that weapon is the last minute, which is a unique Gauss rifle, not a railgun. Fallout 4 doesn't have a railgun weapon class. The Gauss rifle fills that role. Everything else covered in this video reflects how artillery works in the current version of Fallout 4. As always, the goal here is accuracy and understanding the systems properly, not just repeating surface level advice. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.